The plains of Eternia stretched endlessly under the glow of twin suns, a land imbued with ancient magic and boundless life. Castle Grayskull stood as a bastion of power and mystery, its walls whispering the secrets of Eternia's forgotten past. On this day, He-Man, the mightiest defender of the realm, stood atop a hill overlooking the castle. His broad shoulders bore the weight of his legendary sword, the Sword of Power, a weapon that pulsed with the energy of Grayskull itself. Beside him, Teela surveyed the land with a warrior's vigilance. The calm winds brought whispers of change, but neither warrior could yet grasp the source of the growing unease. "Something doesn't feel right," Teela said, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. "The air, it feels heavier, like a storm is brewing." Before He-Man could respond, the sky above them tore open with a deafening crack. A vortex of dark energy spiraled into existence, lightning flashing within its depths. The ground trembled as if the very fabric of Eternia rebelled against the unnatural intrusion. From within the swirling void emerged a towering figure clad in dark armor, his face obscured by a skull-shaped mask. His crimson cape billowed behind him, and in his hand, he wielded a massive warhammer that radiated malevolence. "I am Shao Kahn," the figure declared, his voice a thunderous growl that seemed to echo through the mountains. "Conqueror of realms and emperor of Outworld. This land, this power will bow to me." He-Man stepped forward, his gaze steady and unyielding. "I don't know who you are or where you come from, but Eternia bows to no one. If you threaten my people, you'll answer to me." Shao Kahn chuckled, the sound deep and mocking. "You think you can stand against me? I've crushed kings and gods under my heel. Your defiance is amusing but futile." As he spoke, Shao Kahn raised his hammer and slammed it into the ground. A shockwave rippled out, shaking the earth and splitting the ground beneath their feet. The vibrant grasslands turned into scorched earth as dark energy spread like a plague. He-Man and Teela barely managed to steady themselves, the sheer force of the attack unlike anything they had encountered before. Far away in Castle Grayskull, the sorceress watched the events unfold through the eyes of her falcon form. Her heart was heavy with foreboding as she reached out to He-Man telepathically. "This intruder wields power from a realm far beyond our own. He seeks to dominate not just Eternia but all existence. You must stop him, He-Man, no matter the cost." He-Man tightened his grip on the Sword of Power, its blade gleaming as though it too understood the gravity of the situation. "Teela, warn the others. This battle isn't just about Eternia. It's about the balance of every realm. I'll face him here." Teela hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "Be careful," she said, her voice filled with both concern and resolve. Then, with a burst of speed, she disappeared toward the castle to rally the forces of Eternia. Shao Kahn watched her go with disdain. "Running won't save you," he said, turning his full attention to He-Man. "But you have the spirit of a warrior. Perhaps when I've broken you, I'll make you my champion." "You talk too much," He-Man replied, his voice calm but firm. "If it's a fight you want, you'll get it. But don't expect me to go easy on you." With that, He-Man raised the Sword of Power high above his head. "By the power of Grayskull, I have the power," he roared. A blinding light engulfed him, and when it faded, He-Man stood transformed. His strength multiplied 100-fold, his determination unshakable. Shao Kahn smiled beneath his mask, his grip tightening on his hammer. "Good," he said, his tone almost gleeful. "I'd hate for this to be too easy." The skies darkened further, thunder rumbling in the distance as the two titans prepared to clash. Around them, the very air seemed to hold its breath, as if the universe itself knew the battle about to unfold would shake the foundations of reality. He-Man and Shao Kahn stared each other down, neither willing to yield an inch. The battle for Eternia, and perhaps all realms, was about to begin.
Are you just watching?
Subscribe, please.
The battlefield trembled as He-Man and Shao Kahn stood face to face, their sheer presence altering the very atmosphere around them. Lightning forked across the darkened skies, illuminating the warriors who represented two very different realms of power. Shao Kahn struck first, swinging his warhammer with an arc that promised devastation. He-Man sidestepped, his enhanced reflexes barely keeping him from being crushed. The ground where the hammer landed exploded into shards of rock and soil, the shockwave toppling nearby trees. "You're fast," Shao Kahn growled, his crimson eyes narrowing behind his mask. "But speed won't save you forever." He-Man lunged forward, the sword of power slashing in a silver blur. Shao Kahn blocked it with the shaft of his hammer, the two weapons meeting in a clash of energy that sent ripples through the air. The vibrations from the strike traveled up He-Man's arm, but he held firm, pushing back with all his might. "I fight for my people," He-Man shouted, forcing Shao Kahn to take a step back. "And I conquer for mine," Shao Kahn countered, delivering a devastating knee to He-Man's stomach. The blow sent the Eternian champion flying, crashing into the ground several yards away. He-Man rolled to his feet, his body aching but his resolve unshaken. "Your strength is undeniable, but you underestimate the heart of a true warrior." Shao Kahn laughed, a cruel sound that echoed across the battlefield. "And you underestimate the power of a god." The Emperor raised his hammer high, chanting in an ancient tongue. Dark energy coalesced around the weapon, crackling with malice. He-Man braced himself as Shao Kahn brought the hammer down, releasing a wave of destructive force. The explosion shook the earth, creating a massive crater where He-Man had stood. But when the dust cleared, He-Man was still there, holding his sword aloft. A glowing barrier of light surrounded him, a manifestation of the power of Grayskull. "You'll have to do better than that," He-Man said, his voice filled with defiance. He charged, his sword blazing with golden energy. Their weapons clashed again and again, each strike creating shockwaves that could be felt for miles. Shao Kahn's raw strength and dark magic were matched by He-Man's skill and unyielding determination. The two seemed evenly matched, neither willing to give an inch. But Shao Kahn was a conqueror, used to grinding down his opponents over time. He began to gain the upper hand, his relentless strikes pushing He-Man to his limits. A powerful swing of Shao Kahn's hammer caught He-Man off guard, sending the sword of power flying from his grasp. He-Man fell to one knee, panting heavily as Shao Kahn loomed over him. "It's over," Shao Kahn declared, raising his hammer for the final blow. "Eternia is mine." But as the hammer descended, He-Man reached deep within himself, calling on the last reserves of his strength. He rolled to the side, dodging the blow, and lunged for his sword. Grasping the hilt, he felt the power of Grayskull surge through him once more. With a mighty roar, He-Man swung his sword in a wide arc, the blade glowing with all the magic of Eternia. The strike cleaved through Shao Kahn's hammer, shattering it into pieces. The force of the blow sent Shao Kahn stumbling back, his armor cracked and his confidence shaken. "This is for Eternia," He-Man shouted as he delivered the final blow, his sword piercing through Shao Kahn's chest. The conqueror let out a guttural roar of defiance before collapsing to his knees. His dark energy dissipated, his once mighty form reduced to a shadow of its former glory. Shao Kahn looked up at He-Man, his crimson eyes dimming. "You fight." "Well," he admitted, his voice a rasp. "But this isn't the end." With that, the Emperor of Outworld fell, his body disintegrating into ash that scattered on the winds. He-Man stood victorious, his chest heaving as he surveyed the battlefield. The skies began to clear, the dark clouds dissipating as light returned to Eternia. Teela and the forces of Grayskull arrived moments later, cheering as they saw their champion standing tall. "He-Man," Teela said, smiling despite the chaos around them. "You've saved Eternia again." He-Man sheathed his sword, his expression somber. "This victory came at a cost," he said.